In this Blender tutorial, I'll show you how to use subsurface scattering for beginners. So in this video, I'll show you how to add subsurface scattering to your materials, and I'll go over all the subsurface scattering settings. So what is subsurface scattering? Well, subsurface scattering is when light goes through a mesh, and it makes the mesh look a bit more soft and a bit more fleshy, and you can actually see light going through the mesh and coming out the other side. So some material examples of where you might want to use subsurface scattering is for like skin, cheese, candle wax, fruit, or other food materials. And there's even some rubber or plastic materials which also could use subsurface scattering. Now, subsurface scattering is more visible when there's a really bright light shining behind the object and when the object is more thin. So an easy way that you can see subsurface scattering is if there's a bright light shining behind a character, you can often see subsurface scattering behind the ear because the ear is pretty thin. Or if you shine a bright flashlight at your fingers, you can see the subsurface scattering through the fingers. And of course, things that I mentioned like cheese or fruit or other food have subsurface scattering. So I'm now going to set up the Blender file so we can see the subsurface scattering, but if you want to use the timestamps in the description, you can jump to when I go to the shader editor and add the subsurface. So here on the render engine, I'm going to be using the Cycles rendering engine. You can use Eevee if you want to, but I am using Cycles for more realism. Now, if you want to use subsurface scattering in Eevee, you can definitely do that, but you should be aware that some of the subsurface scattering settings only work in Cycles. So in the Blender manual, which I will have linked in the video description, the IOR and the anisotropy settings are Cycles only features, so they won't actually affect the subsurf in Eevee. And there's also some different subsurface types, but the Christensen-Burley type is the only one which is supported in Eevee. So you definitely can use Eevee, but it won't look quite as realistic, and you can't use as many of the settings. Then of course we need to delete the default cube. It's very important that you delete the default cube. So we're going to select everything, we'll hit X, and I'm going to delete everything. So now I'm going to go to the add menu, and I'm going to add the Suzanne monkey head, because the monkey head is a really great object to see the subsurface scattering because there's some thicker parts of the mesh and some thinner parts, and especially on the ear it'll be easy to see subsurface scattering. I'm now going to press Ctrl 2, which is going to add a subsurf with 2 levels. I'll use the object context menu and shade it smooth, and then I'm going to scale the object down because the default objects in Blender are really large. So I'm going to scale this object down to like a 0.1. So just a 0.1, I'll zoom in and I'll hit Ctrl A and just apply the scale. Now I'm going to go up into the rendered mode to see what it looks like in the rendered view. And here on the color management, I'm going to use Filmic, and I'll set the look to very high contrast just to make the colors pop out and look more contrasted and saturated. So I now need to add some lighting, so I'm going to go over here to the world properties, and I'm using the Easy HDRI add-on. I have a tutorial on how to use this add-on if you want to check it out. The link is in the description. And I'm just going to use this round platform HDRI and just add this in. I'll also have a link in the video description if you want to use the same HDRI. Then here on the render properties, I'm going to go to the film tab and just turn on transparent so the background is transparent so it's not as distracting. And then I'll go to the add menu, and I want to add a bright light behind the monkey head. So I'll go to light and I'll add an area light. I'm going to rotate the area light, I'll scale it down a bit, and just bring it here in the back so that we get some nice bright lighting. And if we go to the object data properties, let's just turn the power up pretty high so there's a pretty strong bright area light. So we'll now select the monkey head, we're going to go to the shading workspace, I'll zoom into the monkey head and go into the rendered view, and then let's just add a new material. So in this video, I'm going to be using the principled shader because the principled shader is the most common shader that pretty much everyone uses. And you can see right down here, there's this arrow, and if I open this up, there's all the subsurface settings. However, I did want to let you know that there is also a subsurface scattering node. So if I search for it, you can see there's subsurface scattering. And so I can just plug it up to the surface and just preview it. And you can see already we have subsurface scattering, but this is just subsurface scattering. So it doesn't have like all the other values like the roughness, the metallic, and the other values. So if you wanted to, you could search for like an add shader and just plug the add shader here, and then you could like mix these both together like that, and then just change this color to whatever you want. Or you could also search for like a mix shader, and you could instead use a mix shader and mix them both together, but then you'd have to kind of blend between using more of the principled or more of the subsurface scattering. So you definitely can use the subsurface scattering if you want to, but since you're probably already using the principled shader, I'm just going to use the principled shader. So I'll just open up the subsurface values on the principled shader. So to add subsurface to our material, I'm just going to take this weight and turn it all the way up to 1. So this weight value is just going to be the strength of it and how much subsurface scattering you're actually going to be using. So I'll just turn it all the way up to 1, and now already you can see there's a lot of light kind of going through the mesh, and you can see the thicker areas, there's like less light going through, but then like the thinner areas, there's a lot more light going through. Now right above the weight, there are 3 different types. There's the random walk skin, and the Christensen-Burley. Now on the Blender manual, it mentions that the Christensen-Burley isn't quite as realistic as the random walk, but I still like to use it sometimes because I actually think it does look pretty nice. So you can really just play around with this for your specific project, and you can either use the random walk or the Christensen-Burley, whichever method you like. I usually just use random walk because it's the default one and does look pretty nice. Now there's also the random walk skin. And so this is similar to the random walk, so it's the same type, but this type is specifically for creating skin. So it should look a little bit more realistic when creating skin-like material. And as I mentioned, if you change the render engine over to Eevee, you can see these ones aren't actually supported in Eevee, so if I try to change them, it's not going to look any different because all the types are just going to use the Christensen-Burley. But that's for Eevee. I'll be using cycles for more realism. So I'll just change this to random walk skin. So the next value is the radius, and there's 3 different values. Now it doesn't actually say it on the value, but the top one is for red, the middle one is for green, and the bottom one is for blue. And so you can turn these up and down, and it's going to add more of the red, green, and blue light values. So you can see if I turn this value up, the top value way up, you can see now there's going to be a lot more red light and more red subsurface scattering. And on default, the red one is set to 1, and that makes sense because usually subsurface scattering is a bit more red. So usually, wax or cheese is going to be a bit more red, skin is going to be a bit more red. So a lot of real world objects which have subsurface scattering are going to have a bit more red light, so it kind of makes sense that the red value is turned up on default. But let me just turn all of these to 0, so you can see if I turn up the top one, that's going to add more red, the second one's going to add more green, and the last one is going to add more blue. So the default is pretty nice, but maybe for skin, you could even turn up the red a little bit, or even turn the other bottom ones down, so that's just going to add more red. Now another cool thing which I like to do sometimes is I like to search for a color node, and I like to put the color node into the radius. So this way, instead of it using the red, green, and blue values, it's actually going to use a color, and so now I can just change this around, and that's basically going to change the subsurface color, so I can make this more red or more yellow, whatever I want to do, and now you can see there's kind of some nice red light kind of shining through. So that is kind of a cool trick. If you want to use that, you definitely can. But I'm just going to delete that color. Now in older versions of Blender, there was actually a subsurface color, and I actually really liked that setting because it just gave us a specific color which we could use for the subsurface. But in newer versions of Blender, the subsurface color value was removed, and so now the base color has more control over the subsurface. So I'm just going to go to the base color here and just make it a bit more of like a red color, or maybe like a skin color. Let's just make it kind of like a skin color. And so the base color is going to contribute to the actual subsurface color. Now right now you can see the subsurface color is kind of looking like a weird blue color. So to make it look a bit more like skin, I'll turn both of these values on the radius down to 0. And then here on the top value, which is the red value, I can turn this up a bit. So now it looks a little bit more like skin. So then if I want to make this even look a bit more like red, I could just slightly push the skin color a little bit more towards the red, so the subsurface has a bit more red. Now, if I go down underneath the radius, there's this scale value. And so this is just going to be the overall scale of the subsurface. So basically how far the light is going to penetrate into the object. And so this scale value is important for the size of your object. So if I duplicate the monkey head and scale it up, this is like now a pretty big monkey head. You can see the subsurface is definitely going to look different. You can see if I drag it over here, you can kind of see it's a bit more white. So I can drag this scale, and I might want to turn it down a little bit, kind of like that. But if I have a smaller object, I might want to turn this up a little bit, maybe turn it up like that. So you're really just going to have to play around with this and change the size depending on the size of your object. So then underneath the scale, the next one is the IOR value. And I did want to mention that if you're using these 2 other types, then it's not actually going to show the IOR. So the IOR is only visible if you're using the skin type. So IOR stands for index of refraction, and generally you often use IOR for glass materials. So if I just add a glass material, let's just plug it up here, you can see glass has an IOR, and so I can change this depending on the look of the glass, or if I want this to look more like a fluid, make it look more like liquid, and different liquid types and different liquid temperatures can also have a different IOR value. Now the IOR is changing how the transparency looks through the glass. But since subsurface scattering allows light to go through the mesh, it also has an IOR value. Now the IOR value isn't super visible on many setups, but I'm going to set this up so that you can see the IOR and it's more visible. So for the base color, I'm going to make it kind of like this kind of greenish yellowy color. And then I'm going to hover my mouse over the radius values and hit the backspace to reset the values. And also here on the scale, hit the backspace to reset the values. Then on this anisotropy value, which I'll be talking about later, I'm going to turn it all the way up to 1. And so this is a good example of where the IOR could be useful and how it affects the material. So if I turn the IOR down to 0, this looks very soft and very fleshy. It kind of looks like cheese or maybe some soft candle wax. If I turn the IOR value all the way up to 1, you can see it looks a lot more solid. There's still light going through the mesh, but it looks more like a hard plastic material where light is still kind of going through the plastic. So maybe it's a thin plastic, but it definitely looks a bit more hard on the surface. So you can definitely see the difference with that IOR value. So now let's go over the anisotropy. So I'm going to turn the base color kind of like this blue color, kind of this bluish color, but then because of the subsurface, it looks kind of red and fleshy. Now the anisotropy value is going to change the light direction. So if I turn the anisotropy down to 0, what the light is going to do is it's going to kind of go into the mesh, and then it's going to kind of bounce around inside the mesh and just bounce around randomly. Well, if I turn the anisotropy up more and more, the light is going to stay in its original direction. So because the light is coming from the back here, the light is going to go into the mesh, and then it won't bounce around quite as much and it'll be a little bit more straight. Where if I turn it down to 0, it's kind of bouncing around a little bit, so you can kind of see how bright the edges are. Whereas if I turn this up, it's kind of making the subsurface look a little bit less strong and the light is going a bit more straightforward. So it is a subtle effect. I don't use it that often, but you can definitely play around with it. So I'm now going to show you how to use the subsurface scattering to set up a realistic skin material. Now, if you are trying to create a very realistic skin material, then you're going to want to use some skin image textures because skin has, little bumps and crevices and creases and wrinkles. So if you don't use an image texture, it won't look super realistic, but I'll just show you how to set up the subsurface scattering for skin. So I'm just going to select the principled shader and then hit the backspace just to reset it so it's using all the default values. So first, let's make a skin color. So I'm just going to go with kind of like a pale skin color, maybe something like that. I can change it later. Now let's open up the subsurface, and on the random walk, I'll turn it to the skin type, and then I'll turn the weight all the way up to 1. Then I'm going to just turn all of these values down to 0. So now there's basically no subsurface, and this top radius value, the red value, I'm going to turn this up to 5, but you can of course play around with that, and that's definitely looking more like skin, because you can definitely see it around the ear there, and it looks pretty red. And then you can of course change the scale, make it bigger and smaller, and I might just turn this down a little bit to like a 0.03. And then the IOR, it's not really affecting this material, so I'll just leave that how it is. Now on the Blender manual, it also mentions that skin has been measured to have an anisotropy value of 0.8. So on the anisotropy here, I'll just turn this to a 0.8. And so there we have a nice simple skin material with subsurface. And it definitely looks more like skin than the other type. So here's the first type. That definitely just doesn't look like skin. It's kind of too blown out. There's like too much subsurface, especially in the front here. And the second type here doesn't look like skin quite as much. Just doesn't look as realistic. But this type definitely looks a lot like skin because there isn't like a ton of subsurface right here where the light isn't shining on it. But over here, there's definitely some subsurface. Because if you just like look at your hand, you can't see like a ton of light shining through the skin unless there's a bright light behind the skin. So that's how you can use subsurface scattering in Blender, so I hope you found this video helpful and thank you for watching. Now if you do like using procedural materials in your projects, then I wanted to let you know about my ultimate Blender procedural material pack, which comes with all of my procedural materials and they're all pre-set up in Blender's asset browser with custom thumbnails, sorted catalogs, and customizable node groups. And I update the material pack with new materials every time I create 10 new procedural materials. So if you'd like to help support the channel and purchase all of my procedural materials to use in your projects, definitely check out my ultimate Blender procedural material pack. And to learn how to create any of my procedural materials, you can check out my Blender procedural material tutorial playlist. So I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.